bold moves.
We do need to grow where we can grow.
To ride out tough times.
So we know where are the pinpoints.
Over half of business leaders in Singapore are confident about their company's growth prospects. That number is lower than their global counterparts. But overall, they are more confident in the resilience of Singapore's growth over the coming 3 years. Pandemic restrictions, surprise demand, swift e-commerce transformations, and changing consumer behavior. How do businesses make plans for the future?
Companies have to make a call whether they should be aggressive or passive.
What's good business in tough times? April 2020. Singaporeans stayed home to flatten the curve of COVID-19 infections. Retail operations were curbed. But there was a surprise for local food supplier Phoon Huat. A sharp increase in demand as housebound customers turned to home baking.
We actually speed up our launching of the e-com shop. Just as COVID hit, we were not well prepared. So we never expect the volume so high.
The changes COVID-19 brought were unlike anything Phoon Huat had seen in its 70 years in operation.
The company was founded in 1947 by my grandfather. In the 60s, we got a cholera outbreak, SARS. It was very sudden, but fortunately the SARS was a very short time. But this one is, COVID-19 is a very long drawn one. This COVID-19 has affected our supply chain quite a bit. You know, shipping rates from Europe doubled, quadrupled. So actually our costs been going up quite drastically. The supplier factory may also be affected by COVID-19. So that alone, maybe we also lose supply.
Phoon Huat also lost a significant portion of its revenue that came from supplying to over 5,000 hotels, restaurants and cafes.
B2B business has been shrunk as low as like half during the peak of the circuit breaker. We have so many headaches, things going to expire.
Supplies needed to be repacked into smaller, retail-friendly quantities and fast.
Here's our warehouse. We have so many things in bulky packs. We import those things to the hotels, restaurants, factories, also for our consumers. During the COVID, we have challenge, suddenly need to supply to the shops instead of our hotels. The problem is like 20 kg cream cheese or 25 kg flour. This is one of our packaging line. During the COVID, we have run the system for 24 hours, but we still couldn't meet for the demand.
The delivery actually, something is scheduled until 2 weeks later. So from 2 weeks delivery, we try to shorten it to 2 days or 3 days. So this is also, you know, because initially we were delivering with our own trucks, and subsequently we engaged a lot of third-party delivery companies to help us to deliver.
Widening its online presence also helped Bread Talk boost sales as footfall tumbled.
One of the challenges we face in this pandemic is the sharp decline in our customer traffic. And that led us to find more innovative marketing ways such as digital engagement, live streaming, and launching home convenience food kit to serve the market during circuit breaker period. For instance, Bread Talk DIY cakes decorations kit and Din Tai Fung's frozen dumpling for our customer to DIY at the comfort of their homes.
For now, online sales contribute to about 10% of Bread Talk's total revenue in Singapore. Overall sales remain depressed.
Online remains a convenient option for our customers. Now what we need to do now is to be able to differentiate the products and services that we offer both online and offline and create a seamless omni-channel system.
With customers staying indoors, global snacking company Mondelez had to rethink its digital strategy.
We had to take a pause, revisit a lot of our brand activation plans and do things that was right for the consumer. When the pandemic hit us, it was the beginning of Hari Raya in Malaysia. We saw people were not going to visit people for this Raya, they're going to be at home. So we started a campaign called Oreo Raya Baking. People were at home creating desserts, creating sweets and feasts for their families. And by creating these 12 traditional recipes using Oreo, the usage and association with Oreo went up. In fact, Oreo became from nowhere to the top 10 brands that Muslims in Malaysia would consider for Ramadan.
Mondelez is still investing heavily in its brands and online campaigns.
If I were to talk about e-commerce, pre-COVID it was very small in Southeast Asia, it was not very big, and now it's become a necessity. In terms of media, we find that digital and social media is increasing. So in addition to TV, we find that in some markets we're investing as much as 50% on social media.
Their efforts have paid off.
We have gained 150 basis points of share in the first 9 months of this year. In some markets like Vietnam and Malaysia, we've gained about 250 basis points. The actions we've taken, the stuff that we've done, will have a long-term impact.
The pandemic has accelerated the long-running trend towards e-commerce. According to EY, 44% of consumers are now expecting to do more grocery shopping online. 39% are expecting to buy durable goods online over the next 1 to 2 years. The stakes are high for customer experience on e-commerce sites. Sporting company Decathlon is transforming all its experience stores into omni-channel hubs, integrating different methods of shopping.
We try to make the online process and online ordering as seamless as possible. So the circuit breaker, if I remember well, was announced on Friday. Singaporeans, they rushed to buy panic buying, and in the same time we knew that after we need to go online 100%, and the orders were also booming in a triple-digit way.
The spruced up e-commerce platform was ready in just 48 hours. But there were some initial hiccups.
We had 70 people answering phone calls for the customers and try to find solution for every single situation. So sometimes we had to cancel the order. Of course, there were a lot of frustrated customers.
Decathlon has ironed out the kinks and is ready for any future disruptions.
If tomorrow we are to close all our stores will automatically become an e-commerce fulfillment center. We are ready for it. So we know where are, let's say, the pinpoints.
The line between online and offline is increasingly becoming blurry. And consumer would start looking at online, go to the store and maybe ultimately buy their products online. So in that context, a seamless and superior consumer experience, omni-channel experience is absolutely critical.
Thinking outside the box as pandemic restrictions slow the flow of goods.
But thanks to our partners, we were able to find a solution.
We try buy at least from 2 suppliers.
Borders between countries closed as the pandemic worsened. Sporting company Decathlon faced a huge challenge. Its goods, bound for Singapore, were stuck in neighboring Malaysia.
We couldn't get our goods shipped to our stores. We have, on daily basis, we have at least 1 delivery per day per store. But thanks to our partners, we were able to find a solution and to transport the goods by the sea on boats with slightly extended lead time.
A backup plan was needed.
We not only made a plan, we actually tested the plan. So we also tested a flow directly from China. We did have temporary shortages. I think many of our customers We're not happy over, let's say, August, where, especially on some sports like cycling and fitness, we did have some shortages, but the situation is already coming back to normal because we are able to scale up our production capacities.
With its supply chain up and running again, Decathlon is getting back to business.
When the phase 3 will come and what will be, let's say, the shape of the new normal, what we want to do is to continue to expand our promise. We will continue to push on the omni-channel organization, because what we aim in the end is that the customer does not choose online and offline.
The mall story is an interesting story. I think most of them will have to find a digital path out. We're thinking about what can we do on the online-offline mix and balance. Companies are still scratching the surface on that, in my opinion.
After initial supply shortages, Phoon Huat has found a better way of managing inventory.
Cream cheese demand surged for small cream cheese. It's not only the Singapore, but also our sub-origin Australia. All households in Australia start buying the 25-gram cream cheese. Business become more challenging. We need to keep safety stock level higher and manage the inventory in terms of the value and the shelf life. We also trying to diversify the supply too. So even though it's not efficient, but we try buy at least from 2 suppliers.
Phoon Huat is also investing in technology.
We actually spend quite a bit of money on IT, about $1 million a year initially, and subsequently as much as $5 million a year. But even today, as we are still growing, we are still spending money on IT because we believe in leveraging our technology to improve our product and deliveries to our customer.
The Bread Talk Group has navigated through several crises in its 20-year history. This time, it's taking a cautious approach.
We are definitely not at a pre-COVID days, and we are also seeing a slowdown, but progressively recovering, which may last till the first quarter next year. The business costs are still high. Therefore, we need to be conscientious in monitoring and streamlining our existing operations. With the lack of tourists entering Singapore, our group will continue to offer innovative dining experiences and products to encourage the domestic spending.
It is still setting its sights on further expansion overseas.
We are not expanding aggressively, but rather staying innovative yet wiser. So besides Singapore, we are already planning to export butter bean, Charlie tea, and our heritage brands Thai Mau Cha to overseas markets such as China, given that they are now close to resumptions of pre-COVID days. If COVID situations remains progressive, optimistic, we will target to open more stores with these brands both locally and overseas.
For Mondelez, the group believes that there is opportunity in a crisis.
We want to take this opportunity to invest even more than we planned in the second half of this year. We are very bullish on our level of investment, and it's paying off. So we are gaining shares, as I say, across the region and globally.
The snack maker is especially optimistic about growth in developing markets like India.
We are very bullish on developing markets for the long term. In India, particularly, after the first couple of weeks of a strong lockdown, we saw our biscuits and chocolate and Bonvita, that is the beverages that we have there, growing very well. We wanted to give the signal as well to our consumers and customers that we are here and there in India for the long term. This is why we expanded.
Mondelez believes snack sales will remain resilient in the current downturn.
We saw in the past, and we are seeing a correlation between GDP and snacking. When you are at home, you tend to snack more in COVID. And when GDP will go back to grow, we will see an acceleration of snacking. So snacking is resilient, it is a trend, it is growing, and will continue to grow. In Asia as well, we like to snack every day and every moment.
Delayed but not derailed, pushing ahead with expansion plans.
We had a few challenges opening the store because of the pandemic and the circuit breaker.
At the time of circuit breaker, we are almost ready, but we couldn't open. So we opened in August.
Singapore's circuit breaker restriction in April brought challenges that businesses had never faced. But 4 months later, food supplier Phoon Huat opened 2 outlets and is planning 2 more by year-end. It hopes that boosting its retail presence will help make up for lost revenue from its B2B operations.
Although we are doing well in our retail, but we also lost something. For example, our 5-star hotels, they're all not doing well because of lack of tourist arrival. So we actually, on our food service side, actually is taking a hit.
Business behavior also had to change, including the way it deployed staff. That helped the 73-year-old company stave off retrenchment.
Early stage, we stopped any cross deployment. We reduce our operating hours. We run 1 shift, but asked staff to work a bit longer, and then ends up we shortened the operating hours. Having doing so, we could keep opening every day. We are proud we couldn't lay off any of the people, even though majority of our business is for food service.
Food and beverage outfit Bread Talk pressed ahead with the launch of new concept stores after initial delays.
The decision was to continue with the launch of our new F&B concepts. So Butterbean and Charlie Tea, a new refreshed Bread Talk, which we had planned since last year. We intended to open in first Q this year when the COVID strikes.
Like many businesses, Bread Talk had to deal with a loss in daily revenue. Some staff took a pay cut or went on no-pay leave. However, a decision to delist from the Singapore Stock Exchange in June turned out to be a blessing in disguise.
Our delisting decisions was actually made during the pre-COVID days with the intent to re-strategize our businesses. You may say it is a timely decision that it happens and it relieves our shareholders in times like this. With that, we are able to make decisions in the face of this pandemic that will otherwise be harder. We are fortunate and grateful as well that all our workforce continue to stay true with us during our hardest time. And even though the market continues to see slow recovery, we have immediately restored their wages back to the norm.
With physical stores and eateries reopening, SMEs in retail and F&B appear most bullish about expansion over the next 6 months. That's according to the SBF Experian SME Index. For global snack maker Mondelez, COVID-19 brought a change in consumer behavior.
During the crisis, you are much more worried about the health of yourself and your family. So the choice to companies and brands that are trusted is amplified. Secondly, you want to have maybe something that is better for you. We see a trend of snacking with vitamins or other kind of positive ingredient added. Contactless, as we said, so more and more e-commerce and buying online, digital connection between brands and consumer.
As borders were shut, it needed to ensure that its products were accessible to customers across the region.
Every country had different regulations, so we needed to ensure that we had all the certification authorization. We didn't produce everything. We decided to produce the core, making sure that we could ship, sell and market those. The one representing the highest appeal from consumers and the highest sales for us.
Businesses need to rethink how they will operate in a post-COVID world. And this includes preparing for a global economic slowdown. The second element is how they can review their portfolio with focus on trimming down their product ranges and focusing on the most relevant, developing contingency and business continuity plans while monitoring the changing geopolitical landscape. And finally, they need to rethink some of their HR policies, such as flexible work arrangements, or any policies that put their employees first and to help protect them.
Outside the F&B sector, Decathlon had some choices to make, whether to be risk on or off. During the circuit breaker, the French company did see sales dip.
So for the 2 months of circuit breaker, we were roughly doing around half of the business of pre-pandemic period. The phase 2, so after 19th of June, we had a huge spike. In the first month, 19th of June, 19th of July, it was like roughly plus 40% of growth. Then August, let's say the rhythm was like a bit slower, like plus 20%. And now with the opening of Orchard, I mean, there's new entity, so we are back to like plus 40% on city level. So yes, the business is continue to be quite strong for us. So here we are in our 5th experience store in Singapore, located in Orchard Road. We had a few challenges opening the store because of the pandemic and the circuit breaker, but yet we did it.
Revenue in the sports and outdoor segment in Singapore is projected to rise to $44 million in 2020.
At this point of time, the companies have to make a call about what sectors they operate in and their competitive position within that sector, and then make a judgment about whether they should be aggressive or whether they should be passive. We broadly know how this is going to play out. We're encouraging our clients to ask a fundamental question, which is, are you risk on or risk off at this point of time, right? And then challenging questions around that.
Redefining good business in tough times.